If you clicked on this video, you want to talk about email marketing for your e-commerce store. We're not going to talk about clever subject lines or beautiful designs. We're going to get down to the philosophy behind a successful e-com email program. Now, I recognize that email isn't the most trendy channel to talk about in business, but when you're running e-com, it can be the highest ROI investment you make. Many of the concepts I'm about to talk about could also be applied to an SMS strategy, but for now, we're just going to talk about the inbox. The first thing to understand about sending email for your store is that in this case, email is not a creative channel, it's a contextual one. And no matter what product you're selling online, most e-com customers travel the same general path. And you need to use data to segment your audience so that you can message effectively. General segments to consider would be subscribers, so people whose email you've got prior to a purchase, maybe for some content or as part of a giveaway. Customers who have started a shopping cart, so ideally you've gathered their email before starting the cart and you now know that they've abandoned their cart in the checkout flow. You also want a segment of people who have made a purchase so that you can send them subsequent messages to keep them engaged and teach them about your brand. You want to segment out your potential repeat customers and your high value customers so that you can speak to them differently and offer them things that keep them loyal to you. If you're feeling a little confused about the concept of segments or email sending in general, I recommend you check out my intro to email marketing video. It will give you the context to really get a lot of value out of this one. The last high-level segment to consider is your dormant customers. Depending on what the life cycle of your product is, you can use time-based segments to re-engage these dormant people. For example, if you're selling pet food, after 26 days, maybe you send them a follow-up to ask how they like it and see if they want to order more. And as I said at the start, all of this messaging can be fairly straightforward as you're just giving context to the user about their relationship with your brand. If you want to make them entertaining and interesting, that can be a plus, but make sure you're upfront about what you're offering. To power your success, you're going to need data. And as I mentioned, you want to get as much data as quickly as possible so that you can serve that customer to the best of your abilities. Make sure that if you're running modals for newsletters or coupon codes, that data gets attributed to that user and then used throughout your checkout flow to make sure you can build the clearest picture possible. Having this data early also improves your paid advertising initiatives because you can share that information with your media partners so that they can target that customer as well as customers like them. Basically, it improves your segmentation everywhere. As I've said in all of my email focused videos, you want to get your data set up early, correctly, and spread out through your e-commerce system. When thinking about messaging, new customers versus returning customer is the split that you want to be aware of and catering to. Don't worry about how many emails you're going to send. Think about the intent the user has and how you can support them through your funnel. First-time buyers need reassurance of who you are, that other people like you, and that the product is going to come to them as promised. On the other hand, returning customers are more focused on relevance and timeliness of your messaging. You want to show them that you understand who they are and where you fit in with their life. And as I've said multiple times, you need to make sure the data is there to be used. So this includes cart, browse, and purchase events that you can then use to tailor your email messaging and all other channels if you set it up correctly. Your purchase event is always the anchor that you're optimizing all activities towards. But cart events also show an intent to buy, and while sometimes these people are just waiting to see if you'll send a discount, having this data available to your SMS and email systems makes that possible. Browsing data is often a little bit weaker, but can still be used. So for example, if you have content that supports specific product lines, you can use that data as a signal to show you where they're at in the buying journey or what they might be interested in buying next. However, if you're sending browse events from content like blog posts, you need to understand there's going to be a lot of noise in that data because everyone reading a blog is not a qualified buyer. In your pre-purchase funnel, lead magnets are about gathering data. If you're unfamiliar with the term lead magnet, it's just a piece of content, a free download, a video, a trial that you give away to get the customer in the door. And by doing this, you're letting them tell you what they're interested in potentially buying. Whether it's intro content to a product line, a quiz where they tell you specifically about themselves and how your product relates to them, a guide on the features available or the buying process for larger ticket items, or community building content like contests or information sharing forums. It really depends on the business that you're in. The main takeaway to understand is you are giving away something to get data that you can then integrate into your messaging program. A newsletter is the default message brands think to send out, and in e-commerce, it's all about showing your personality and having a presence in your customer's life. A good newsletter shows personality while maintaining relevance with the customer, showing them that you understand their world and you have a shared world together. It keeps you present in their life without creating urgency. If buying and selling goods online were like a cocktail party, your newsletter is like the small talk you're tossing out there to let them know what you're up to and maybe gather a little bit of information on what they're interested in and what they've been doing. The reason I suggest your newsletter should be a touch point without urgency is because we're saving our urgency for launches and sales. And if you're running an e-commerce messaging program, launches do not start on launch day. Launches and sales should be a series of messages that start by letting your customers signal where they're at in the buying cycle and what they care about. You want to mix your messaging to communicate both the features as well as the stories around the products to hopefully give them a reason to care about purchasing when you make the product available. Help your customer understand your prices versus the value of the products that you're providing, as well as the style options and specifications of the items in your store. As a marketer, you're looking to these messages to try and learn by looking at the click data for their interest, the timing information to get a sense of when might be the best hours to send your more urgent messages, and any engagement patterns that you can use in your subsequent emails to make sure your launch or sale is a huge success. For both returning and first-time customers, your cross-sell messaging will entirely depend on your product, so it's difficult for me to give hard and fast guidelines here. You need to look at the products you're selling in your e-com store, because email cannot change the reality of the goods you're selling. For example, durable goods do not have the same cross-sell opportunities as refillable products, and highly accessorized products can't be sold the same way that a standalone item would be. So you need to look at the margins on each product in your store, as well as the customer's frequency expectation. How often would they buy the core item, and does it make sense to offer the secondary accessories and upsells? I would love to be more specific on this one, but this is where you need to think about your own store and make some decisions on how to message around cross-selling products. You need to know your numbers, both about your products as well as the messages you have been sending and will be sending. Don't be scared to experiment and see what drives the best bottom line for your business. And since you took my advice and set up all your data properly to all your messaging systems, it's gonna be super easy. So what does it all mean? How can you today start improving your e-commerce email messaging? It starts by making sure the segmentation data is being properly passed to your email platform so that you can generate the segments that we talked about. Once your segments are created, you can start mapping messages to each part of the buying journey and figure out how frequent and how much email you want to send. And then you start testing. Just put some messages out there, test what you can given the resources you have available. Set reminders in your calendar to regularly check in on your email programs and spend some time looking at how you could improve. Like all things in e-commerce and marketing, you just need to take action with the resources available to you. Look at the numbers and do it again. Each time you'll move incrementally closer to the most profitable version of your business. If you have questions about anything I presented here, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Otherwise, stay creative and have a great day.